you work so hard for all these years to maintain this good reputation, because that's all you have, right? That's all you have at the end of the day. Like that's who you are. It's what your reputation is. So you work so hard, and then a couple of employees can like really screw it up. And so we got real serious about trying to get that back.
Welcome everybody in It's Another Nice Job live chat. We are here. My guest is set and ready to go. And we are excited in particular about this one because we're going to tell a story of an entrepreneur that's about to kind of take on a big endeavor, but he's also part of the Nice Job community as well. So it's one of our own that we love to see the success that he's having so far. But for you out there, the listeners from this episode in particular, we just want you to hear our guest's story. Take away some key takeaways, but also just to kind of let you know if you're embarking on the same type of journey or you're thinking about doing so, there's other people out there doing it. And whatever you can learn from members of your community will help you in the long run. Well, no one wants to hear about all I have to say in the intro. They want to hear what our guest has to say. It is Cameron Carson joining us now. Cameron, how are you this evening?
Doing great, Sean. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, it's our pleasure to have you here. As I mentioned, you're part of the Nice Job community. You're a Nice Job user. You're getting that reputation growing, and you got some big stuff ahead of you. But before we get to what's ahead, let's rewind it a bit and go into your past, so to speak, a little bit of your history. Tell us when you first kind of caught the entrepreneurial bug. Was it in childhood? Was it through grade school? When did you know that you had a little bit of knack for the business?
Yeah, it's a great question. When I was 8 years old, my dad wanted us to learn how to sell. And my dad was an entrepreneur, so was my grandpa. And so we wanted to pay for Disneyland and Lake Powell vacations and stuff like that. So what we would do is my dad got us these gas caps. And it's a gas cap that basically goes in your car, has a combination on it. And we'd go door to door in our neighborhood and sell these gas caps. And so from an early age, I was knocking on doors and selling stuff from gas caps to popsicles to fundraising for Cub Scouts when I was just a little kid. And then, I did Scouts even more. And when I got a little bit older. And then I started my own landscaping business, and just everything just kind of started from there. So just got the bug early on. It was in my family, and all my uncles are entrepreneurs. Both my grandpas are entrepreneurs. So it just was in my blood.
Was there a little bit of pressure having so many entrepreneurial influences? Because it's great. You kind of, you see what kind of they go through. And it sounds like very early on, it was instilled in you that the hard work is going to have results. You talked about, having money for vacations and things like that, extra spending change as a child. But having entrepreneurs around you, is there any pressure? Because you kind of want to almost live up to that billing, so to speak.
Totally. I mean, you see what your parents or your dad's doing and what your uncles are doing. And, obviously as a kid, you just see them with their boats. And, we had a houseboat timeshare. We'd go down to Lake Powell every year. And I always wanted, the ability to be able to do that for my own family and for myself. And so I think there was pressure there to live up to the standards and impress and exceed expectations. I definitely think that's
and it's got to be a great resource as well. It's always kind of someone to pick a brain, or to share experiences with.
That's been huge. That's been huge. I think of being able to bounce ideas off your own family members. You can talk business, and it's not like it's business talk. It's just how we talk, because it's just so commonplace.
Yeah, it's like an extra level of care because they care about you as the individual, obviously the family tie, but usually business owners and entrepreneurs, because it's such a special breed, there's that camaraderie there as well. So it's almost twofold when it's coming from the family. That also brings up an interesting thing though, is there ever I don't want to say like conflict, but we also talk about when people are like, I do love my family, I don't know if I want to work exactly with them. Has there ever been some big disagreements that's taken over a holiday dinner or anything like that?
I don't think so. I mean, we always have our differing opinions as far as like, where markets are going and the risks in the economy, and then it gets into politics, and then there's always arguments from that. But no, I think I mean, my dad owned an RV business, and my grandpas were plumbers, so they're completely different markets. So there was never any like conflict there, and I was doing my own thing. But I think it kind of just depends on where the conversation goes and how, we start talking about, the economy, politics, and then it just goes downhill from there.
And
like always.
It does kind of lead to our main topic, which is talking about taking the journey of franchising your business. You're coming onto that step. You decide to make that decision, and a lot of things go into that decision. The first of which, and it's not necessarily, it's almost in no particular order, is determining, is the market there for growth? So whether you're doing it through franchise model or you're just looking to expand, perhaps buy another business to add onto what you have, you have to see, a market viability there. This decision is not something that happens rather quickly as well. So as you started looking at the market, and then 2020 happens and rules start changing and things like that. Did that speed up your plan? Did that slow down your plan? Take us through the last little bit as you started to look at the viability.
I first started thinking about franchising my business like 3 or 4 years ago. And I was looking at national franchise chains that are in my industry and looking at how they grow so much quicker than somebody who's doing it in a corporate ran model like me. And they get the capital from their franchisees to be able to grow. And so they're creating a business that can be replicated by other franchisees. And so to me, that started to appear more of a direction that I wanted to go. And then as far as viability went, just doing research to find out, okay, who's in the area? Are there people doing this in my area? Are there not? Why are they not? And so on. And you start asking all these questions, and really, truly, there's probably like 10,000 questions that you got to ask and get answers to really start to like get firm conviction into what you're going to do, going down this road. But that's where it all started. I read a book called Franchise Your Business, and that was like so eye-opening to me about, how this could potentially happen. And so I started dreaming of ideas and it just, kind of evolved from there. It just started really small. And then we're like, you know what, this has got to be a full-on franchise. So that's what we started working toward.
And did you find, as you were kind of doing that research, did you have to ensure that you were looking at it almost objectively and not just trying to convince yourself it was good or bad?
That's always a fear of mine, because you want it to work so badly, right? That you automatically have this bias toward the data that you're looking at. And so you have to really, truly step out and go, okay, either I'm going to like call this quits, or I'm not. And, I can do this. But you have to be able to step out of your own shoes and not be emotionally involved anymore, because if you are still emotionally involved, you can't see, the data like you need to be able to make that decision in a non-biased way.
Especially when it comes to franchising, because it can be rapid growth, but if you push too soon, or you're not kind of ready to make that shift, it could go up in flames just as fast as it can go up on the ledger.
Yeah, I heard a statistic from from a franchise group I follow that I think it's like International Franchise Association, IFA, and they say that 3,000 franchises start every year and 3,000 fail every year.
Wow,
Not those
that's
same 3,000,
yeah.
but it's kind of a consistent amount of franchises that are actively in the franchise world. But there's tons that start and there's tons that fail, and so there's really not a whole lot of like success stories. And so it can be definitely risky if you're not paying attention to the small details, or if you're ready or not.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about that because it's one comes in, one goes out when the
Yeah,
ratio is
right.
like that. And I think oftentimes if you have no familiarity with the franchise model in general, people think of those giant big franchises,
Right.
which a lot of those is a combination of a franchising model, and then when they get to a level, kind of bringing others underneath the franchise, so kind of buying brands to then grow a brand,
Mm-hmm.
which is a unique sort of model in its own right, but it starts with that core franchising model. In order to take on an effort like that, it's definitely not a solo venture. You have to have key players, in your management team, close to you, that inner circle, beyond the family, people that you're employing there.
Yeah.
Was that something also 3 or 4 years ago that you started kind of taking stock of and saying, okay, if I bring this person in at this position, as things start to grow, this person will be able to move on and do X. This person will be able to do Y. Have you been looking when it came to recruiting and hiring over the past couple of years in gearing up for this move?
That's a great question. In the short answer, yes, but at the same time, it was not my most important. It wasn't on the top of my mind, and because I wanted to get the cookie cutter. I liken it to a cookie cutter, right? Like you're building a cookie cutter so that you can essentially just stamp and make more cookies or more franchises, right? And so you're building this cookie cutter, and people are obviously going to be involved. There's no doubt. I've had such great help in doing this, and but the systems all have to be in place before you can do anything.
Yeah.
And so it's really like I focused in on systematizing the business and systematizing literally everything so that it can be written down and then passed on to a new franchisee as they come in, and then the personnel side, basically training them to take on these systems that need to be in place.
I know this is asking a little bit about choosing between your children because all systems are very important, but is there one in particular you can think of that's doing most of the heavy lifting, or there's one of, hey, like once this system got going, this feeds so many other of my systems that it's kind of the core system among the systematizing.
Yeah, no doubt. Our CRM is 100% the core system that's in place, and it is amazing. We use Jobber, and Jobber, integrates with a lot of different platforms, including NiceJob, and so it acts as a trigger whenever we mark a job complete. It acts as a trigger for NiceJob and sends out a review invite the moment their payment has been paid, and it just does a ton of this stuff for us. It handles all of our billing, all of our dispatching, all of our the logistics. I can open up a map and see every crew anywhere. It's just incredible, the power that a system like that has, and getting that to work hasn't been as hard as I thought it would be, but it's like the backbone of everything.
And it takes so much off your plate as well,
Oh
because
yeah.
if you just try to just recreate in a physical sense what a CRM is going to do for you, like just put it into paperwork, just
Yeah.
alone,
Well,
that's
yeah.
going to bury you just in a physical
Well,
sense.
well, people say, "Oh, I just use QuickBooks." No, 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 no. If you compare QuickBooks and Jobber are in completely different categories, and they don't even do the same things. They overlap a tiny, tiny bit. But if you're running your business off of QuickBooks, then you're doing a lot more work than you need to. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah,
And
and we often get this in our position in that ecosystem. As you mentioned,
yeah,
NiceJob integrates with Jobber, integrates with QuickBooks as well.
yeah,
And we get this question a lot in our ecosystem of, okay, what do I add in when? And our general sort of philosophy is, if you have a good CRM that's going to cover a lot of your bases,
yeah,
then you can start using things for their particular need. And so when people ask, like, all right, what's the first tool should use on a job? Like, well, for example, if you have a screwdriver, you could screw something and you could turn it over and use it to hammer something, but it'll work, but not quite. But when you start getting multiple tools there, so in
yeah,
your situation, you have Jobber,
yeah,
a ton of great resources there. You talked about, seeing the crews out there, but then you currently are running through NiceJob. So now you have that dedicated, reputation marketing software that's handling that element.
yeah.
And then I don't know if you're doing this general, but like you could integrate like a QuickBooks to kind of add on to it. You can add
Definitely.
in something on a front end, a bidding software,
Yep.
and then run all the way through. And this all leads to now you have something, and you hit it right on the head. And if anyone studied systems, this is a takeaway that everyone hears, but I don't know if it always registers, is that's the thing you are passing on that is proven and
Yeah.
tested
Oh
to
yeah.
the next person.
Yeah.
So when it comes to franchising, that I think will now position you as someone that is not, you're distributing the systems, obviously, but you'll have, I'm sure, a small layer underneath that's handling that. But
Yeah.
it now kind of puts you in a position to almost sell what you are doing. Like you now have these system works that you're going to sell franchises.
Yeah.
How that's a not overly dramatic, but that's kind of a bigger shift perhaps than someone's used to the day to day of being on a truck and doing jobs. Is that something you're excited about from the challenge sense, or excited about because you're finally at that level?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the most important like task that I've completed or achievement I've done over the last 7 years we've been in business is building this IT infrastructure that handles everything that we do. Jobber does all of this stuff for us. And then it integrates. We use QuickBooks. We use QuickBooks and Jobber, and they talk to each other. And then we use NiceJob, and then we use another one that sends out postcards and emails and stuff for us. And so and that the Jobber CRM, it works great for what it does, but it's terrible for managing a sales pipeline. So we use another one for tracking our sales and our prospects and sending out emails and tracking phone calls and doing all that stuff. And so I'm super stoked to be able to say, hey, look, this is what we've built. You can't see it. I mean, but the moment I start showing you on a computer, it's going to blow your mind.
Yeah.
I mean, we send out, I don't know, like 150, 200 postcards every single day, and we don't even think about it just because the system's doing it on the back end for us, and just managing all of these customers. I mean, we've got, I think, 3,000 customers, like they're all being managed at scale without even thinking about it. And so this machine that we've built, like, I'm super pumped to be able to come to a franchisee and go, hey, here you go, and we duplicate it for them and for every other franchisee after that.
I mean, this is going to sound cheesy, but that allows you to kind of get back to dreaming instead of surviving, because you have a system that's replicating, and now your day to day. I mean, look, it's business. Every so often, someone gets sick or there's some weird thing that's going to throw a little ripple that might make it all the way up the chain. But it sounds like once you start getting a lot of these things in place, they gave you the opportunity to, without any sort of, regret or worry, look forward and decide
Yeah.
what your next step is going to be. That peace of mind has to,
Oh.
just kind of feel good, for lack of a better term.
Oh, for sure. And for any new business owner who doesn't know how to run a business, or who's never owned a business or done anything like this, like, all they got to do is just go into the system and start turning knobs and pushing buttons. That, we've built this huge machine that's, functioning beautifully, and it's purring like a baby. And it's just like, I mean, that is gold for any new business owner to be able to come in and be able to do this without a ton of administrative work, and that's, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm saying, but so now that you kind of have that's part one of
Yeah.
what makes a good buy-in proposition for someone that wants to join, and that you want to sell a franchise to in that sense. The other part of it, when I think of franchising, it is reputation. It is what you're known for, because that branding, from the look to the type of people you hire to the type of services you provide,
Yeah.
all comes together.
Yeah.
I know from a little bit of a pre-interview that,
Yeah.
your reputation now, it's known for quality and things like that, but you had a couple of hiccups, not due to your own doing along the way.
Yeah.
Would you mind sharing with the audience kind of that journey? Because I think it's very important to kind of discuss this part, because I think when people think franchising, they think it's like the star athlete that, was good in junior, good in college, and then start through, but there's hiccups along the way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely been a roller coaster ride, I'll tell you that. So we started in 2013, just me, and then we started growing like crazy. So I hired some technicians to go do the work, and then we hired some more, and then we started just growing like I mean, we are like exploding. We're doing like 50,000-60,000 a month in like recurring revenue, and we're just having a blast. But then we had a couple of employees commit fraud, essentially, and we lost a whole bunch of business, a lot of our business. It really set us back. And, obviously that is not what you want to have happen. It's, discouraging to say the least. And, we had to downsize and move into a smaller place and get serious about getting profitable. Because if we didn't, we were going to die. There's just no doubt. And so as far as that reputation piece goes, we lost so many clients, but we got so many negative reviews. Our reviews went from I think we were 4.8 stars on average down to 3.7. So we dropped an entire point, a little over an entire point. And you work so hard for all these years to maintain this good reputation, because that's all you have, right? That's all you have at the end of the day. That's who you are. It's what your reputation is. So you work so hard, and then a couple of employees can really screw it up. And so we got real serious about trying to get that back. And so we got NiceJob on board, and we started just inviting everybody to do a review for us, and focused on fixing that personnel problem.
and you talk about, you start inviting everybody, and
yeah.
I don't want to say surprised, but you think you might be a little gun shy, so to speak, when something bad happens and the feedback starts coming in.
Yeah.
Why was it important to you to keep asking and to try to get that reputation back by constantly asking for feedback, as opposed to waiting it out, maybe trying to see if you can dodge around, maybe changing a name? Why'd you tack that on?
Because here's the thing, we were either going to die or we were going to come roaring back. And so we had a really great reputation all the way up until these few months with these few employees, right? And so we had to fix that labor problem for one. We had to fix some internal issues to address that culture issue to begin with. And then we had to just invite everybody. We had to ask every single person, and not just once. I mean, NiceJob, we ask them 5 times. Like we send them a text message, and then it sends them an email if they don't open it, and then another email, and then another email, and then a final email, right? And all those touches, I mean, I've seen people give me a review like 3 or 4 months after the service is done, because we kept bugging them. And we're just so grateful that they were able to do it. And half the people go, oh, I didn't even see these, And so the importance for us was asking and just getting more at bats, because people automatically expect, this is what I've come to learn. Customers automatically expect a good experience. So if they have a good experience, they don't feel an obligation to tell the world unless it's an extraordinary experience, right? Because they're just expecting a good one. In their eyes, they go, great, you did your job, right? Mm-hmm. Why would I go above and beyond to tell the world about you unless it was an above and beyond experience?
And you mentioned that not only are they going to do that if it's above and beyond experience, but when it's above and beyond, they'll go out of their way to do it.
Oh yeah,
well, that's part of the reason. And I don't want to, as much as this is, a reputation marketing podcast, a NiceJob podcast, not too much about it, but that's where those follow-ups come in. You go back to systemizing. Wow. So it's not follow-ups that you have to do, but that's where they come in, because you've made it so easy for them to give them feedback. And sometimes the longer they get away, the more it kind of resonates of why it was above and beyond. So maybe at the key moment, the moment of peak happiness, right as that first text message hits, that's always most successful, because if you're extraordinary, they're all about it. But even if in their mind, they have really high standards and they don't think that you want above and beyond, because they're so happy and it's so easy, they'll tend to leave it.
Yep.
But when it goes down the line, it's almost like a little bit further out. Now you appreciate it. So I was just saying this to my wife the other day, like sometimes when you clean your own home, you straighten up a little bit. The first realization is you didn't realize how sloppy it got.
Right.
But then 2 days after, you realize like, man, like it's a pretty cool place we're in because it's nice and cool. So you almost get refreshed. You realize how above and beyond it was. But to cycle back was by asking everybody, you're able to kind of take the temperature of the audience out there. You're getting real-time feedback. I doubt when you first, made just a couple changes right after, getting rid of the personnel, that it was, oh my God, we're back on top again. But I'm sure that allowed you to evaluate along the way if you were able to, refill key roles. And even as you talk about like systematic changes, perhaps what needed to be closed to prevent, fraud from occurring, or to have more checks and balances in that sort of nature. So you grow, you kind of come back. So it's a little bit of a comeback, and now you're kind of on to the next chapter. It sounds, I know it's going to be very early to kind of ask, but where do you want to go from here? Do you want to be obviously you want to be successful as possible, but for you is there's 2 types of entrepreneurs. I kind of feel those that love the challenges at certain stages. So some that'll start a franchise model, kind of go about it, and then in a couple of years want to go back to the beginning, see if they can do it again. And there's other ones that it's just bigger. What type of what type of journey do you think you'll be on?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've thought a lot about this, and this very question actually comes into play as you're strategizing launching a franchise, because if you're going to launch it to sell, then you're going to launch it a different way. If you're going to launch it to grow, to like expand, over years, maybe even decades, then that's got to be your strategy from the very beginning. And so for me in particular, I think we're gonna try and be in every single state, and we want to go as big as we can. And I just want to, at the end of the day, the reason I am doing this is because I want to help people be able to supplement their income, or just take control of their income, right? We had a massive year of unemployment, especially here in the US. I'm not sure about Canada. I'm sure you guys experienced some similar things, but like millions and millions of people were laid off this year, including me. I had a sales career at a tech company, and I was laid off, and I had this business obviously that was going on its own that didn't really need me, and so I just stepped right back into it. But like the whole reason why we're doing this is so that we can give people the ability to like take control of their own situation and become business owners and have a little bit more security in their life.
Yeah, and there's been so much that's been unexpected, but at the very least, it's your hands on the wheel. Like the road may change in front of you, not due to how you steer or anything like that. But if you feel like you have your hands on the wheel, life is unpredictable, but at least that small little semblance of not control, but just of guidance, self-guidance.
Yeah. I mean,
and you talk about it, like I'm in work in Canada now, but I'm American, and in my previous career, almost 70% of the people I worked with got laid off this year. It was devastating to watch, and a lot of them came from a huge corporation that had no business laying people off. But, that's that sort of devastation, honestly, for lack of a better term. It's disheartening in some regard, but it's refreshing to hear that's part of your motive of what you're doing is to perhaps open up more opportunities for people to be self-sufficient.
That's our core motivation. I mean, look at this. This is the way I look at it. I don't know how other people look at this, but this is the way I look at it as a business owner, right? And I have personal experience with this. So I can say this in all seriousness. As an employee, if you're not a business owner, you are more vulnerable to being laid off. Or having income interrupted, right? 2 words can change your whole world. You're canned, or you're fired, or we're done, or whatever combination you want to say. It's 2 words and you're done, right? And so if you don't have something to go back on, like I did, then you're starting over scratch at a brand new company. And it's just like so discouraging, Like as an employee, you work so hard to stand out. You don't take time off. Like you do all these things to like work your way up. And then all of a sudden, at no fault of your own, the company goes, hey, by the way, you got to go, Yeah. And so to us, it's like, that's not acceptable. Like people need the ability to fall back onto something or to do it on their own. I mean, I can get fired by my customers and I'll barely notice, unless it's like a huge chunk of my customers. And so to me, that risk is spread out by the 3,000 customers that you have,
And at the same time, you also can go and find, new customers to replace the ones that be going on. And for every reason they're leaving, it doesn't, in the instance we're talking about in the business sense, an employee being fired, it's not always because the employee was bad. It's financial situation or something like that. And the same thing, sometimes with clients, it's, it's not in their budget to continue hiring you, or, they're making some different changes and they want to try something new or a different direction. But it's always fascinating every time I talk to guests here on the podcast at different stages of their business, and even some with different motivations. The ones that tend to come where I feel like you're coming from, where it's I'm doing something for myself, but because there's going to be so much other opportunity within it, it's as much as it's self-motivated, it's almost a little bit of kind of like a pay it forward sort of obligation of, what, I took my opportunities and I'm making the most of it. And all I have to do is give someone else an opportunity. And who knows if one of your next hires becomes, business owner on his own, goes and franchises, using things that they use or things like that. Like that's going to be almost as fulfilling as seeing your franchise name across a bunch of states.
Totally. If not more, like
for sure.
you just empowered them so much more and really changed their life, And so to us, that is like what we're trying to do. We just want to help as many people as we can, and there's so many people out there that can benefit from a system like ours, or just being a business owner. A lot of people are intimidated and they don't feel like it's right for them, but they remain vulnerable if they continue down the road that they are. And so And we've seen that just this year with the millions of layoffs. And so that's what we're doing. That's why we're doing it, you know.
Well, we at NiceJob, you know, NiceJob podcast, and I know our whole listening audience is going to be eager to kind of watch the journey and see how it goes for you, and rooting for your success. In season 2 here, it's our 6th episode here in season 2. We've been ending every interview, every conversation with the same question, because we always bring experts on the podcast. There's a lot of knowledge that they have, but I think the true experts, as much as they're ready to share what they have, they're really excited about what they don't know. So the question we've been ending every episode with is, what do you not know now that you're either focused on or you're excited to learn about and to get into your expert knowledge bank? Like, what's the next challenge for you?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think as a brand new franchisor, I think that where I'm headed, the knowledge I'm trying to acquire is, how to build strategic partnerships with other franchises and, become a leading franchisor in the country. That's what we want to do. And I don't know how to do that. I mean, I'm brand new at being a franchisor. We launch as of December 21st. That's in just like 3 days from now, and so that's going to be a major challenge, and being able to scale up into a national franchise chain. That's what we're headed for next. So we're really pumped for that. I mean, we look at challenges and we just get more excited.
So you're launching on the 21st of December, as you said. As this recording, it's the 17th now, so coming up in just a couple of days. Yep. And I realized we went this whole time because I wanted to talk to you, kind of the individual, and dive into your mindset, but we haven't given out the name or anything like that. So can you tell us here? Can you leak it? Like, what should people be looking out for coming to their state, hopefully soon?
That's right. Yep. We are called Worried Bird Window Washing. And we do, obviously, windows, power washing, gutters, Christmas lights, and screen repair. And we've been in business. We'll be 8 years next year. And so coming to a town near you.
Awesome. And Cameron, if anyone wants to follow more of your story or reach out to you or just kind of see what you're up to, is there any way they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn's great. I'm just at Cameron Carson, or you can find me at Worried Bird on Facebook, and at Worried Bird on Instagram too. So it's just past tense of worry. So, well,
Cameron, once again, continued success to you. We're glad to have you not only as part of the NiceJob community, but the business community as a whole as well. And I truly do appreciate you taking the time to share your story and share your knowledge here with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here. So thank you.
And for all of you out there watching along, I appreciate you taking some time to make yourself a better business owner today. If you like what you heard in this episode, share it out with some friends. We're live on Facebook. You can always share it to any groups there. Maybe drop it in an email to another colleague or another fellow entrepreneur out there. But at the very least, if you don't want to do any of those things, just take something that you learned today, think about it, marinate on it a little bit, and put it forth in your own world and see how it works out for you. Because that's what we're hoping to do with this podcast, is to help give you tools to be a better entrepreneur, a better person, all that and more. We will be back next week with another episode of the NiceJob podcast. But until then, we hope you're being healthy, hope you're being safe, and don't forget to have a little fun out there as well. Take care, everybody. We will see you next week.